I just watched $20 billion vanish from the crypto market in mere hours, and somehow that chaos led me to a jaw-dropping discovery about XRP's future that I cannot unsee. So if you've ever wondered what happens when you really see big money finally kind of betting on XRP, well, you want to grab a seat because this story has everything from a surprise move by Donald Trump to an experiment in my office right here. Now, you won't believe where this goes, right? It started with a headline that sounded like pure clickbait. XRP to $70 if pensions invest. I obviously literally laughed out loud. Pension funds, you know, those ultra-conservative retirement plans, putting billions of dollars into crypto. It sounded a bit like fiction, but then two things happened that changed my mind. First, the crypto market did something that I've never seen, a flash crash that liquidated nearly $20 billion in positions. And second, I stumbled on real evidence that mainstream institutions are in fact warming up to crypto in a big way. So now I'm thinking, maybe the idea isn't so crazy after all. Okay, let me back up for a moment. Just the other day, someone in our free educational Discord server, there is a link in the description by the way, posted an article about the US pension funds potentially allocating 5% into XRP. Now, my initial reaction was, yeah, right, and I'm about to ride a unicorn to the moon. But that Discord discussion, it got me a little bit curious. Why would anyone even suggest that pension funds, the most cautious investors on the planet, might actually go into crypto? Well, it actually turns out that the world is changing, quietly but quickly. Now, I did some digging and I found out that by April of 2025, at least 17 US states had either approved or considered crypto investments for state reserve funds, and 16 states for public pensions. Now, even Pennsylvania, yes, the state famous for steel and Philly cheesesteaks, right, introduced a bill that actually lets its pensions invest in Bitcoin. So I was a bit stunned, right? That is like your grandma's retirement fund flirting with Bitcoin. And it doesn't stop there. The CFA Institute survey, actually updated in 2024, found that 94% of state and local government pensions already hold some form of crypto-related assets. 94%. So if you had asked me, I would have guessed maybe 5%. And it seems almost that every pension manager actually has at least dipped the toe into crypto, even if it is via a crypto-linked stock or a tiny ETF position. Now, I know what you're thinking because, well, I thought it too. Aren't these the same pension managers who call crypto just too risky? And yeah. In fact, an advocacy group, even kind of blasted pensions buying crypto as a risky gamble for retirees. And I kind of get it, right? Imagine telling a whole bunch of teachers and firefighters maybe that their nest egg is in something as volatile as XRP. Now, you'd probably be laughed out of the room, right? But here is the thing. Those attitudes are actually softening, right? Slowly, but it is happening. Right? The number of states opening the doors to crypto is growing. And these funds are testing the waters with tiny allocations. Right? We're talking 0.1% to 1% of portfolios right now. It is baby steps, but it is progress. And then came a plot twist from the political world. Remember how the US regulators were super wary about crypto in retirement accounts? Well, in a move that, I never saw coming, was Donald Trump, during his presidency, signed an executive order that basically gave crypto a green light in 401k plans. Now, this order overturned a prior guidance from the 2022 that had discouraged any crypto in retirement accounts. You gotta love or hate Trump here, but that policy change is a rather big deal. It's kind of like the government is saying, all right, fine, you can consider crypto as an option. Now, that was kind of a huge reversal. So when I read about that, it kind of clicked for me. The gatekeepers are slowly opening the gate. So, with all of this groundwork laid, I circled back to that XRP to $70 scenario. And here's the setup. As of mid-2025, US pension funds and retirement accounts held about $45.8 trillion in assets. Sounds insane, right? Well, now, just imagine 5% of that money finds its way into XRP. Well, that would be about 2.29 trillion, potentially hitting XRP's market. Now, for context, XRP's market cap right now is about $147 billion at the point of recording, about $2.50. So $2.29 trillion is about 15 times the entire current XRP market. So the idea of even a fraction of that flowing in, at least into one crypto, it sounds a bit like fantasy land, right? But it gets even wilder when you consider how crypto markets work. Big inflows don't add up linearly. They often have a multiplier effect on the price. Basically, when huge demand hits, the price can overshoot proportionately. So XRP in the past has seen multipliers in the hundreds, right, during crazy runs. One analyst noted that in one case, every $1 that flowed into XRP's market cap seemed to jump in value as if $272 had gone in. And then the most recent crash that we just saw was a 1000x multiplier, right? That was on the bounce. $118 million goes in, and we saw 100 billion on market cap. Now that was an extreme scenario during the peak of this crash, but it kind of shows how irrational market caps can get. Now, nobody is saying that kind of multiplier would happen with slow institutional buying, right? They would likely buy over months or years, not in a single day. So let's be conservative and assume a maybe modest 2x multiplier effect for the big kind of long-term inflows. If pensions put $2.29 trillion into XRP with a 2x effect, well, you would actually be looking at roughly an additional $4.58 trillion added to the market cap. And XRP's current $147 billion base, and you kind of get about $4.73 trillion total. Divide that by XRP's 60 billion tokens, and drumroll, you would have XRP's price at around $78 per coin. So let that sink in. $78 XRP versus about $2 to $3 today. Right, I nearly fell out of my chair when I calculated that. It sounded totally bonkers. But to be clear, this is a hypothetical what-if scenario, not a prediction. But just knowing that it's actually mathematically possible under certain conditions kind of gave me chills. Now, if you're an XRP holder, the idea of a 30x jump in price because pensions decided to go into crypto, well, that's the stuff of dreams. Or of course, there's a grand canyon of ifs between here and there, and if the regulators truly do open up, if fund managers actually take the leap, and if they choose XRP over other assets. That is a whole ton of ifs, right? And critics, like I mentioned earlier, are already kind of calling it gambling with retiree money. So I'm excited, but I'm also realistic. This isn't happening tomorrow, and it might never actually play out exactly like that. Now, as I was pondering all of this, the crypto market decided to throw us a curveball. That crazy crash that I mentioned at the start, right? In early October, we saw one of the largest crypto liquidation events in history. Roughly $19.36 billion wiped out in 24 hours. It was brutal. Bitcoin had plunged, Ethereum has tanked, altcoins have bled out. And if you were on crypto Twitter that day, it was like a collective freakout. But here's the wild and weird part. After the dust had settled, a lot of seasoned crypto folks actually started saying that this crash might actually be pretty healthy. I know I'm one of those who was predicting a downturn in the market anyway. It sounds absurd, I know, right? But hear me out here. There is logic that this was a necessary plunge for excess liquid leveraged positions and greedy leveraged traders to get wiped out, a cleansing, if you will, after which the real growth can actually resume. In fact, some insist that this flush out didn't kill the bull run at all, it just reignited it, essentially by shaking out all of the weak hands and the over-leveraged gamblers out of the market. The market now might actually be more stable for the upward trend. Now, I'm not claiming guaranteed bull run now or anything crazy, but it got me thinking. If the market really does rally after this plunge, and then we get even a whiff of news like pension funds buy crypto, it could be an explosive combo. So we could see a scenario where retail FOMO and institutional FOMO feed off of each other. Right? Imagine headlines of a major pension fund announcing a crypto allocation, even just 1%. Right? The XRP army would go bananas. Right? Twitter would be breaking out with hives, and literally the price would react in a rather big way. It's speculative, sure, but not impossible given the momentum that we're seeing behind the scenes. Now, before I go on, I do need to put on my responsible adult hat for just a second. Now, this might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile, and you could lose all of the money that you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and this video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Alright, that's the disclaimer over. I know that was a bit long and boring, but it is important. Right, we are talking about pretty wild possibilities here, and I'm just some dude on the internet sharing a story. In fact, all of this talk of big money moving made me reflect on my own crypto journey and how I'm exploring new projects rather carefully. So let me share a quick side story that's actually happening in parallel to this. Lately, I've been tinkering with something called Unity. Now, I'm not sure if you guys have heard of this. I know I've spoken about it on a few videos at this point, but don't worry if you haven't. It's not the next meme coin or anything stupidly dumb like that. It's actually more of a tech experiment. Now, Unity is basically a project that lets you run these kind of pieces of software on your smartphone. It's like a miniature kind of crypto node that earns you rewards, basically, right? Now, you can think of it like using your phone's spare power and internet to kind of help decentralize a network, right? And you get paid in crypto for it. It's a pretty cool concept, right? And basically what you're doing is you're basically verifying if your signal or like a telecommunications is strong, if there's any dead spots or hot spots or maybe the call quality. You're basically doing verification checks using a smartphone. And so it's just making little tiny checks on the network. And that's it. And you earn crypto for it. And it caught my attention because it's a bit different. It's not just like buying a token and hoping that it's going to go to the moon. It's actually just doing some real work like network verification with everyday devices, and you get paid rewards for it in crypto, including XRP if you want. So, true to my nature, I decided to give it a shot. I actually purchased a Unity node, master node, which came with 200 licenses. Now, each node comes with those 200 licenses, meaning that I can connect up to 200 phones to the network, all under my single node. And yes, it's a bit like starting a tiny mobile network in my house. Now, I'm not going to be setting up 200 phones on day one. No, I'm going to be setting up a test here on 10 phones that I'm kind of setting up to run the Unity app when it goes live and join that network. Now, this is a totally experimental at this stage. If it does work and I start seeing really good rewards, then I might scale this up and use more of those licenses. And if it doesn't pan out, hey, at least I tried something new and I'll get to report back so that I can learn from all of this experience. So why am I bringing this up? Well, it's because it's actually a part of a much broader theme, exploring the crypto world's potential in a hands-on way, rather than waiting for big institutions to finally coming to crypto or regular people to find, like us, finding ways to kind of earn crypto beyond just trading, right? It's actually all part of this revolution that we're actually living through day by day. Now, Unity nodes, for example, tie into the telecom world, right? They create a decentralized mobile network where users help to verify calls quality and network integrity. And as a result, you get paid by the carriers in cryptocurrency of your choice. or the services that you're providing. It's kind of like sci-fi stuff, I know, earning money by having a phone on your desk, or 10 phones on your desk, doing these little network tasks. Now, of course, I'm keeping my expectations realistic. It's a new project, though it is actually founded by some established projects like World Mobile and Minutes Network. There's a reward calculator on their website so you can estimate their earning potential, and if that calculator is right, well, a lot of people will be quitting their 9-to-5 jobs and just doing this instead. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to be working out exactly as per their calculator, but if it does, that is game-changing for many people. Anyway, I'm going to play around with that before buying into anything. Like, it's important to do your own research, right? I'll link the calculator and their website in the description down below, so you can do your own research, right? And you've got to do your own research big time on this if it does intrigue you. Just because I'm testing it doesn't mean that it's right for everybody, right? I'm treating it as a fun little side quest in my crypto journey, not a guaranteed income stream, as much as I would love additional passive income. And by the way, if you're wondering how I even found out about Unity, credit to our community, right? I think it was actually a member in our Discord, shout out to you, whoever you are, who first kind of mentioned it a little while back, which actually, again, shows the power of sharing ideas in a community. So if you haven't joined us there, it's completely free. It's in the description down below. We toss ideas around news, and sometimes we even uncover these hidden gems, or at least have a good laugh over the crazy stuff that is going on in the world of crypto. Now, shifting back to the bigger picture, we've got this convergence of events. Institutions are warming up, a market shakeout that could actually be the start of something new, and retail investors like us experimenting and staying nimble. It feels like we're on the cusp of a new chapter in crypto. I mean, who would have thought that a couple years ago that pension funds would even discuss crypto, or that a president of the US, would actually be pushing to include crypto in retirement plans? Or that I would be running these kind of crypto phones on my desk right here. It's wild. And that's kind of why I love being a part of this space. It's never boring. Now, before I wrap up, I want to quickly mention, if all of this talk about XRP and crypto has you thinking about investing more, or for the first time, remember to be safe and to use reliable platforms. Now, I personally use a whole host of different crypto exchanges. Some of the ones that I trade on most recently and do rate are things like liquidated and 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰 for some of the crypto trades that I do. They are solid exchanges in my opinion. And I have affiliate links for a lot of different exchanges down in the description. In fact, in the description, you'll find a link to our website, which has all of the different exchanges that we use, things like LBank, liquidated, 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰, Kraken, right? And those links, if you do sign up and trade through them, then actually, it supports the channel here at no extra cost to yourself. Now, as a part of the strategy here as to kind of what I talk about all the time, is you want to sign up to as many of these different exchanges as possible. So go check out that link in the description, sign up to all of the different exchanges, and in doing so, when you have big market crashes like we've just seen, and one of the exchanges that you would normally use goes down or is just bottlenecked because there's not enough bandwidth, there's many people that are trying to get on, then you have alternatives to go to. It's always good to have at least good 10 or so different exchanges that are trusted within the space so that you can always get onto one of them should the time come. Because during this market crash, we saw a lot of exchanges basically unable to cope with the number of people trying to log on. So do yourself a favor, set yourself up for future success, check out the link that's in the description, sign yourself up to all of the exchanges, and make sure that you have a plan for when the time comes. All right, let's land the plane, right? What is the takeaway here? Well, for me, it's that sometimes the most unexpected developments can change the game. A year ago, the idea of trillion-dollar pension funds touching crypto would have sounded a bit like a joke. But today, it's still a bit of a long shot, but it's an informed long shot, right? We can see the dominoes lining up. Does that mean that XRP will hit $78 this week? No, of course not. But XRP, or could XRP have a much larger role in the financial system in a few years from now if even a trickle of that institutional money flows in? Well, I think yes, within the realm of possibility. And that is a huge win for those of us paying attention. And as an XRP holder myself, yes, I've been holding a bag for quite a while, riding this crazy roller coaster, then this journey has taught me to balance enthusiasm with skepticism, right? Be excited about the potential, But clearly, because clearly there is potential there. But you've also got to stay grounded, right? The best strategy that I found is to keep learning, to stay connected with others. Again, our Discord server is open to all of you, and be ready for anything, making sure that you have access to all of the different exchanges should the time come. Now, who knows, right? The next big tip might come from a random chat at 2 a.m. or a breaking news alert that pensions are actually buying crypto, or even a comment on this very video, right? In any case, I'm here for it, and I know that you are too. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you for coming along on this little adventure of speculation and discovery. I hope it gave you some food for thought, and maybe even a couple of wow moments. If you've enjoyed the story, you can do me a favor by smashing the like button and hitting the subscribe button too. If not only supports the channel here, but it also ensures that you won't miss any future updates. Now, we've got a heck of a ride ahead of us in crypto, and trust me, you're going to want to see how this story unfolds. I'll see you all in the next one.